Hi, I'm Chris from Airwindows, and hey, you can do this. Because this is Airwindows ADClip8. Yep. We're back into the range of loudenation again. And this should be quite something. I think we really have something going on. So what's the deal with ADClip8? I was working on a different kind of clipping for a plugin called FinalClip, which I'm using on Final Cut Pro so that I can capture excessively loud stuff coming off of my microphone in the videos that I make. And I was trying some new techniques with what I can do to get the clipping stuff working properly. And I hit upon something that was working kind of well. And I thought, why not incorporate this into ADClip? Let's even incorporate this into ADClip in such a way where you get additional mojo out of it. So here we have ADClip8. And it works very similarly to ADClip7 with a couple of changes. We've got a ceiling control, meaning that you can dial it back so that it's no longer, it won't clip all the way up to the iron bar, right? And we've got this mode control. Now, the audio unit has a pop-up menu with this. For use with Reaper, I recommend not trying to use the audio unit because it produces a pop-up menu, but Reaper's audio unit menus are off by 1. And that's not very useful. Plus, you don't get to do 64-bit audio bus on Reaper if you're using the audio unit because those are core audio, those are 32-bit only. This will do 64-bit. And as you can see, we've got the control marked mode, and it says normal. A 10 does this. It is turning it down to match whatever gain you had so that you can hear what the clips are doing without being distracted by it becoming any louder. Like you can set it in this way if you needed to set it so that you couldn't hear the clips happening. You can do it by simply turning that up until you hear something happening. And if you make it so that you're not hearing any distinct difference, then it's probably clipping pretty transparently. Or you could do this. Clips. That means clip only. And you can only hear it when the clips are kicking in. And we can do this for different kinds of music as well. For instance, and then beyond clips, which is for only hearing the clips, we can switch it over to Afterburner. And here we start using multiple stages of ADClip8. It's stepping a little ways away from the extreme purity model that I use in, for instance, ClipOnly 2. Which is still the cleanest way to do this kind of thing, but there's an additional thing you get with the added stages that I'm doing here. Also, I should note, with FinalClip and with ADClip8, I have a very subtle slew clip that can kick in as well, and that proved useful for the advanced stages of ADClip8. That's only there so that it can moderate sibilance and things like that on my videos, because initially this all came out of me building something for my own use, and that will come out. You do get to play with it, but Afterburner is 2 stages of boost, and you can set it to clips only and hear only the bits that are actually producing the clip, and then go back to, for instance,
don't you recognize the
for not having obvious clipping happening. But there's more, because you can do Afterburner for 2 stages, and it goes beyond there. Like, let's bounce back to Alien Kittens for this. So normal sounds like this, but you can kick in another stage. Afterburner. But wait, there's more. Explode. 3 stages. You notice that there's more space left. Nuke. Another stage. Apocalypse. The final stage after Apocalypse is Apotheosis. If you need to do extreme loudenating, this is the one that gives you the hugest, most thunderous bass and the most powerful sound, depending upon how grungy and gritty you're willing to make it be. So if you're needing to push it beyond the beyond for unreasonable amounts of additional gain, and you don't care how you go about doing it, and you want bass and weight out of it, this was normal is essentially what ADClip8 can do, except for that it had some weird ways of reintroducing energy in. Check this out. Go from there. That's pretty intense. So, we can also do a normal.
nor shall I for what was mine.
We can set up something like that and turn it up until we can hear the clips. Normal.
I for what was mine. Sing it not for never. Nor shall I for what was mine. Sing it not for never, but for once upon a time.
How's that grab you? ADClip8 is audio unit and VST2 for Macs and Windows and Linux and all that kind of stuff. And it is for you. It is free because I'm Patreon supported. And Patreon keeps me doing, here I have a little list here of stuff that I've been up to lately. It's been a busy bunch of live streams recently, I'll tell you. I'm going to bounce over to, I think, playing Minecraft next week, just because it's been really challenging and demanding. But we have got a new version of Air coming out, Air 3. We've got a filter plugin called Kalman. That's another based on science and or stock market calculations as applied to an audio filter. And it does some really interesting things, I thought, with being a crossover as an audio filter. It produces a strange, interesting effect. I had it as a extreme low frequencies filter, put it on drums, and when I cranked it right up, rather than doing a neat frequency cutoff, it became a kick drum spot mic. It turned the overall sound into basically the output of a Yamaha subkick on the room signal. So that was wild. So I'm also experimenting with you're probably not going to see this right away, a version of Console that's going to follow Console 9, which is going to come out, because I've been working on, there is a neat thing out there on the web called Herbie that's designed for figuring out how to do more accurate floating point calculations, including places where floating point calculations get inaccurate as they pass through zero. And of course, in audio, if you have a distortion that crops up as you pass through zero, that's basically Class B distortion. It's crossover distortion. It's like what exists in, a lot of old transistor amplifiers and things. The audiophiles discovered this as they started moving into more high power amplifiers. And it does distinct things to the sound quality, which are not good. And it's fixable. So I have a whole design around repairing the problems that this causes in console 6, which also gave me completely other algorithms, such as ones that can go into a console 9, which is a different design than console 6. Rather than working in a power factor of 2 or 0.5, console 9 is going to do golden ratio and golden ratio plus 1, which are also, they are factors of each other. That proves to be also a calculation that you can do that fits with the console design of doing a saturation and then an anti-saturation to undo it. That's not necessarily even what I'm using for the upcoming console X, which might be the final numbered console concept and the only one that will include a set of filters, but the set of filters is going to be Kalman and Air 3. I'm tempted to call them AI filters because what Kalman does is it calculates a bunch of really complicated stuff and then applies it based on how much its calculation departs from what the raw signal is expected to be. So Kalman and Air 3 have expectation for what they think the sound is going to become, and they will filter based on whether the actual audio is departing from that or not. So it's almost like kind of AI thing, but on this very mechanical, like these are the things you can't do in analog. This is something that has to be done with the math. And I think these are really interesting sounding filters, but we'll get to those because I'm also working on a thing that I'm calling discontinuity, and that is establishing the sound of audio. Before I leave immediately, I have color coding set up for what the new console X is going to use as controls. I've got a bass mid treble, I've got a mid peak, much like what you have in console MC, but not exactly the same as in console MC. And the orange is the low frequency cutoff for Kalman. And then we got a nice little blue reverb control, and P for pan is pink, and then here's the fader. And all of these things have been adjusted a little bit from what I was doing with console MC and console LA. I'm just trying to evolve all of this stuff as it goes forward. And this discontinuity thing, I'm going to have to figure out a way of fitting it into console X because it is the one where you set a maximum amplitude level and the simulated air distorts to actively fit what the sound would be if your mix went up to that level. And this seems to completely negate the need for using compression in the mix, and that's wild. But wait, there's more, because I can also use a degenerate version of that algorithm and call it disintegrate, and I'm already working on that, and that creates crazy distortions that also sound like far, far too loud. And then that also gives me the opportunity to do a new version of distance. The original distance really has its own sound, and I don't think distance 2 quite measured up. So I get to do a distance 3 and move beyond that. Plus, I've got a couple of plate designs working out, and I should really be able to do an excellent guitar haul based on what I'm doing with discontinuity, disintegration, and so on. Yeah, there's a lot coming along. For now, I've already started to use ADClip8 in some of these experiments. And so I thought, since I'm already starting to use it for stuff, let's just give it to people. And I hope you enjoy it. ADClip8 is a real effective way to do your sort of extreme loudenation. You heard it. And if it makes you platinum selling records, please pump some of that back into my Patreon so that I can continue doing all of this work. I'm looking forward to putting a lot of these things into action. And I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.